Okay, in a second, I am going to turn the video around so you can see. And I'm just curious if you're going to recognize where I am. Do any of you guys recognize where I am? I sat in this spot probably 5 months ago, 4 months ago. I don't know. It might have been in November, maybe. Anyway, several months ago, I sat in this spot and I talked to you about how we had a thief in our house, and it was like children who were trying to steal my attention instead of me giving it, and how, you know, we were implementing some different things to like give the attention that was needed, but make sure there weren't like little attention goblins. So for those who just hopped on, I will show you again. Do you recognize this spot? So it was just several months ago that I was parked in the same spot doing a live video. And I was driving past here and I was like, I'm going to come here and park because, wow, I have grown and changed so much even since then. So while I ask you, do you recognize where I am? Do you recognize where you yourself are? And no, I'm not asking like you're in your living room, you're in your car, you're at the store, whatever. No, that's not what I'm asking. Do you recognize where you are and what you're actually dealing with? Because, okay, little disclaimer, I don't like sit and premeditate this stuff. I like just on the fly. I just start talking to you guys heart to heart. I really don't. I don't plan these things out. I'm just sharing heart to heart. So, do you recognize where you are? Because so often we think our problem is one thing when actually sometimes it's not that. So do you recognize where you are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically? Like, do you recognize where you are? Not what you think the problem is because you received a diagnosis or because you were labeled with something or because obviously your husband is the problem. Thumbs up if you've ever felt that way. Trey and I had a issue that came up this week, and it wasn't really an issue between us. It was an issue with the house. It was a very rainy week, very limited on how much time the kids could go outside in the rain because it was cold and rainy. And I expressed some things to him and I made a request to him. In the past, do you know what I would have done? I would have complained to him. I would have blamed him. I'm not even kidding, guys. Like, I would have blamed him. I would have been like, okay, listen, there are 6 of us in this little tiny house, and, you know, you haven't provided anything better yet, and we've needed something bigger for a while now, and blah, 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 and it's all your fault. But I was able to leave, like, all that clutter out, and I was able to recognize where I was at. I was able to recognize it doesn't matter who's to blame. I have a situation I'm dealing with, and I was able to say, hey, could you help me come up with a solution? Like, could you help me think of maybe a place I could go, something I could do? Unfortunately, I really wasn't able to come up with anywhere to go. I had to continue to be creative at home because in our area, there really aren't a lot of resources for moms who homeschool and their children are home during the day. There were 2 fun centers that have permanently closed, and the only fun center that was left was only open on the weekends. And there's a pool near us, but I think it's only open on the weekends. I'm not sure about that. And there's like the McDonald's play place, which I really don't want to go to and buy junk food just to like play in the play place. I could have done that. And then there's the library, but I was going to the library the very next day. So recognize what your true issue is. And that's going to stop the blame game. That is totally going to stop the blame game. Recognize what is the issue here and what am I needing? So I was able to express to Trey what I was needing. And, you know, without even like any blame, I got an apology from my husband. If y'all aren't getting apologies from your husband, have you ever considered the fact that maybe you're playing the blame game? because people really don't like to apologize when they're being blamed. But I presented an issue, and my husband presented me with an apology. And that felt pretty good. So comment below if you understand what I'm saying. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Like, recognize where you really are. We just latch on to like the easiest solution that's like somebody else's problem and somebody else's fault. And of course, I've been diagnosed, like for me, like I've not been officially diagnosed with PCOS, but I have all of the symptoms of polycystic ovarian syndrome, which I have many family members who have been diagnosed with that as well. And so I have not been officially diagnosed, but I pretty much know I have PCOS. So for me, it's very easy for me to latch onto the idea that women with PCOS, it is very challenging to manage your weight. You gain weight like crazy when you aren't eating like crazy. And like, if you decide you actually want to lose weight, then your body just holds on to it. Is that thought really serving me though? Is that the only thing that's going on in this situation? So that's one of the factors in this situation, is that I have more than likely have the label of PCOS. So I could just say I have PCOS, like that's why I'm overweight. Or I could say PCOS is a large contributing factor to my weight. But also, I have a tendency to go back to sugar pretty frequently. Like, I eat low sugar, but not totally pure where it's no sugar. So that could be holding me back. Or there are times when I feel stressed and I will eat, like at non-opportune times. Or sometimes I social eat. So like I social eat because like we're all having fun and we're eating together. And then I get to the end of the meal and I'm like, whoa. So what is it that you're dealing with? I tell my stories because I know some of you, give me a thumbs up if you're like, her stories sometimes make me think of my story. So that's why I tell my stories. But I wish I could hear your story. What is your story? Some aha you had during my video where you realized, yeah, I thought that was my issue, but that's just one contributing factor. What's the other pieces to my puzzle? And just like, if you were my client, I would say, go journal about that, write that down. But right here in the comments, do you think you could write that there? Do you think you could just leave that there? And I told my story and it made you think about your story. What if you tell your story and it makes somebody else think about their story? And we support each other as humanity, as humans. I love it. I love it. So comment below your takeaway from this video. Comment below if you had an aha moment of, maybe it isn't that I have this health condition. Yes, I have that health condition, but that's just one of the pieces of the puzzle. You can focus on what you can't change, or what you haven't. I haven't been able to change some of my health things yet. But if I focused on that, I wouldn't try anything else. And I have made great improvements in my health. But I wouldn't have made those improvements if I had just been like, yeah. So anyway, last time I was here at this beautiful lake, I was talking about Melania was really being irritable and things. And really acting out, and it was so out of character. And I realized one huge contributing factor was dye. Even though she wasn't having it regularly, she was having it occasionally, and it stays in your system really long. So she was having dye in her food, and cutting out dye, she's been so sweet and giving her just a little bit of extra attention, not when she's demanding it, but giving her that extra attention here and there. She's been so sweet and she's been so good. And today I had to run into town and do some errands. So I decided to bring just her with me while the boys stayed with daddy, and even Esther stayed with daddy. And we were going to have some mommy daughter time, and she slept the entire time. I went to get gas. She stays asleep. I go to the bank to withdraw money. She stays asleep. I go to the laundromat. she stays asleep. And I was like, I don't have the heart to go on to, I was going to go to a larger town and do shopping with her and have this mommy daughter time. And it was like, no, I don't have the heart to disturb her right now. So yeah, I guess this is my 4-month or however many months it's been update of like, I recognized where I was the last time I sat at this lake. I recognized where I was in my relationship with my daughter, and I decided to make improvements to that. And now I'm sitting in the same lake, but I recognize that I'm in a different place. Do you want to be in a different place than you are right now? Do you feel like stuck and like it isn't an option to go in a different place, to be in a different place? I want to challenge that belief. You have the power to change your story. You have options. You just haven't taken them. You haven't even looked for them. And so as a life coach, that's what I do with my clients. But number one, that's what I do with myself, because I'm not going to do something with a client that I'm not willing to put into practice myself. So I love you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic Friday. And if you want to take your life a little bit more seriously, if you want to achieve the thing that just has felt achievable, please send me a message. I would love to work with you and help you achieve whatever it is that your personal goal is. Love you guys.